give the listeners a little background on your company. It's Naboso, right? Yeah. So I have a couple of those products. I have the insoles that I love with the texture, and then I have the mat as well. And I'm loving those products. We use it with all of our NBA guys. We start off workouts barefoot on the mat, and they really like it. Personally, I feel like the insoles have been big for me. I'll walk around in them barefoot, and I just have an awareness of where my met heads are, and I can feel that tripod. Whereas in normal shoes with a sole this thick, it's like I can never feel where my feet are in space. So give a little bit of background on that.
Cool. Yes. So Naboso is a sensory-based product line that I launched 4 years ago, and all of the products utilize texture. So there is texture or little tiny pyramids across every single product that we incorporate. And the texture is designed to stimulate the nerves in the bottom of the feet and technically the palm of the hand, because the nerves are the same. The products that we develop through that, you mentioned a couple. So insoles, mats, we have socks, release tools, a sensory stick, flooring. We're developing a couple other products for like Pilates machines and stuff like that. And really the goal is to help people activate, tune into their feet, really feel that foot posture and foot awareness with every step that they do or every move that they make. And what I was finding as a functional podiatrist is that as soon as people get into shoes, there's this sensory disconnect that is just inherent. And even in minimal shoes, you get a slight sensory disconnect to the full foot placement and weight shift and pressure distribution. So we often say that we're bringing barefoot into the shoe and really wake it up. The way that you said you walk around barefoot in your shoes to just like prime the nervous system is one of my favorite applications, especially for athletes, is let's just turn on all the light switches, right? And then put your shoes on, get on the court, get on the field, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, it's awesome. So anybody listening to this, I would recommend checking that out, because those have made a huge difference in my foot and also our NBA players as well. They love it. How important do you think it is to just get out of the shoes in general? Walk around. I've heard so many different opinions on it. I've heard everything ranging from everything you do in training should be barefoot to like maybe just walk around barefoot. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we know that a lot of sports are shod, or they have to wear shoes, right? So basketball, football, any of those, even hockey, many of these sports require you to be in some sort of footwear or apparatus that's interacting with the foot. So I look at barefoot training, like I said a little bit earlier, is this activation technique. I call it barefoot before shod. Now, outside of athletics and priming the nervous system before you put your shoes on and you train or you play a game, compete, etc., there's actual research that shows if you do everything barefoot, like all the time, full believer, all barefoot, you actually almost become weak in that sense. As soon as you put on shoes, it's like your kryptonite, right?
Yeah.
And I often give this example that I love to train barefoot. I totally am like doing exactly what I just said don't do, but I absolutely love training barefoot. I would rather do kettlebells barefoot and everything, no shoes. As soon as I put on even my Vivo barefoots and do kettlebells, my foot awareness and the accuracy and the weight shift as I'm swinging the bell is just a little bit clumsy. So there's research that shows the most trained foot and ankle structure, especially in athletes, is if you are barefoot and then you train minimal and then you train in whatever your competition footwear would be, and to transfer some of those same sports. So do the kettlebell swings or the box jumps barefoot, minimal shoes, cleats, or whatever your competition shoes would be.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, that's something that I didn't know there was research behind that, but that's something I always felt is like if I went too far on that barefoot side, putting on shoes, like you said, it's kryptonite. It's so uncomfortable and it feels heavy. I always wonder about like, a lot of our reflexes are responding to vibrations from the floor. And if everything is barefoot, those vibrations get there fast, but then you got these thick shoes on and the timing of the vibrations changes depending on the thickness of the shoe. So I think some people might go a little bit too far of like everything barefoot, and then you're not trained for what you're actually going to be competing in. And then the other thing for me is like, the idea of barefoot running might fix your, put you on the ball of the foot, right? Get you off the heel because it hurts when you heel strike. And so, people say that it kind of fixes your mechanics, but as a basketball player, the heels are a good thing. Like we want to decelerate on the heels. When I jump, there's going to be heel. And so if I do too much of that stuff barefoot, it's a lot of like the heel hitting and kind of like, maybe even if the heel did adapt, I don't know if that's an adaptation that I want it to make. So I think that's a good point of like, do a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's really variability in stimuli. And this is everything that you're doing, right? Is you want to continuously shift and surprise and re-stimulate or challenge the nervous system in different ways. And I go a ton into instability training and proprioceptive versus mechanoceptive training. And sometimes I will challenge Eric's pads and wobble boards and things like that. But there is a time and place for every single one of those modalities, and say, okay, what am I getting from having my feet on a Bosu, right, versus a hardwood floor? Is it good to challenge the nervous system in all those different ways? Absolutely. Just know why you're doing something and make sure you're not going all in all the time on an Eric's pad and you're still pulling in some barefoot, hardwood floor, just to create that balance.